Hello students, myself Mr. Santosh Pawar welcomes you all in MGC Learning. Under the chapter Control and Coordination, today we are going to see the next endocrine gland, that is gonads. So student, our today's topic is endocrine gland such as gonads. What are the gonads? Gonads are the sex organs. Testis and the ovaries are called as sex organs. So gonads are the sex organs and the testis and the ovary are the sex organ. So they are called as gonads. So we start with the first gonad, that is testis. Point number one. A pair of a testis is found in a human male. A pair of a testis is found in a human male. Number two, they are situated outside the abdominal cavity into a pouch-like or a sac-like structure called as a scrotal sac or a scrotum. They are situated, testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity into a pouch-like structure which is called as a scrotum or a scrotal sac. Point number third, students, testes are primary sex organs as well as endocrine gland. Testes are primary sex organs as well as endocrine gland. Our chapter name is Control and Coordination and we are seeing only the endocrine gland. So today we have to focus only on the endocrine part of a testis. So endocrine part of a testis is called as a interstitial cells or the Leydig cell. Student, I repeat, endocrine part of a testis is called as a interstitial cell or the Leydig cell. Refer the diagram. This is a TS of a testis of a mammal. Into that diagram, millions of rounded bodies are seen. That millions of rounded bodies are called as a seminiferous tubule. Beside this seminiferous tubule, some special type of cells are seen. That cells are called as a interstitial cell. These interstitial cells are also called as a Leydig cell. So student, these interstitial cell or the Leydig cell are the endocrine part of a testis because they secretes the male sex hormones called as a androgen. They secretes the male sex hormones called as a androgen, and the testosterone is the most significant, the most important androgen hormone. Testosterone is the most significant or the most important androgen. This is about the introduction about the testis. I repeat, a pair of a testis is found into the human male. Number two, it is situated outside the abdominal cavity, into a pouch-like structure called as a scrotum, or scrotal sac. Point number third, testes are the primary sex organs as well as endocrine gland. So, point number four, endocrine part of a testis are called as a interstitial cell or the Leydig cell. So interstitial cell are the Leydig cell are the endocrine part of a testis because they secretes a hormone, and the name of that male sex hormones are called as a androgen. So interstitial cells secretes male sex hormone called as androgen, and the testosterone, which is a male sex hormone, is the most significant androgen. So this is about the testis. A pair of testes situated outside the abdominal cavity into a scrotal sac. They are primary sex organ as well as endocrine gland. Endocrine part is called as interstitial cells or the Leydig cell. These interstitial cell, they secretes the male sex hormone called as androgen, and among the androgen, testosterone is the most significant androgen. This is about the testis. Let's see the function of a androgen or the function of a testosterone. Androgen perform three functions. Function number one, it regulates and stimulates. I repeat, it regulates and stimulates the development, maturation and the functions of male reproductive organs. This testosterone or the androgen, it regulates and stimulates the development, maturation and the functions of male reproductive organs. Which are the male reproductive organs? Seminiferous tubule, epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicles and the prostate gland are called as a male reproductive organ. So their development, their maturation and their function is regulated and stimulated by the one hormone, and the name of that hormone is called as a testosterone or the androgen. Student, we will see the details of male reproductive organs in a chapter number 2. Number 2, second function, it also controls the male secondary sexual characters. Testosterone or the androgen, it controls the male secondary sexual characters. What are the male secondary sexual characters? Male secondary sexual characters are muscular growth, growth of a facial and axillary hairs, growth of a facial and axillary hairs, aggressiveness and the low pitch of a voice, etc. are called as a male secondary sexual character. So all these characters are controlled by the one hormone called as a androgen or the testosterone. So student, testosterone or the androgen, they control male secondary sexual characters. I repeat that, male secondary sexual characters, that is muscular growth, growth of a facial and axillary hairs, aggressiveness and the low pitch of a voice. Number third function, this androgen, it also stimulates seminiferous tubule. It also stimulates the seminiferous tubules for the spermatogenesis. What are these seminiferous tubule? Internally or histologically, each testis is made up of number of microscopic tubules. Histologically or internally, each testis is made up of number of microscopic tubules, and that tubules are called as a seminiferous tubule. So this testosterone or the androgen, it stimulates that seminiferous tubule for one process. That process is called as a spermatogenesis. Student, spermatogenesis means formation of a sperm. Spermato means sperm and the genesis means formation. So testosterone or the androgen, it stimulates seminiferous tubules for the spermatogenesis. This is about the functions of androgen or the testosterone. Testosterone is the most significant androgen. I repeat the function, it regulates and stimulates the development, maturation and the functions of a male reproductive organs. Number 2, it controls male secondary sexual characters. Number 3, it stimulates the seminiferous tubules for the spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis means formation of a sperm. Student, this is about the testis. It secretes a hormone called as androgen. Testosterone is the most significant androgen, and the functions of androgen or the testosterone, it regulates and stimulates the development, maturation and the functions of a male reproductive organs. Number 2, it controls male secondary sexual characters, and it stimulates seminiferous tubules for the spermatogenesis. Let's see about second gonads called as ovaries. A pair of ovaries are present into the female body. A pair of ovaries are found or are seen in a female body. They are situated within the abdominal cavity. So ovaries are situated within the abdominal cavity. Number 3, ovaries are primary sex organs as well as endocrine gland. Ovaries are primary sex organs as well as endocrine gland. So endocrine part of ovaries, endocrine part of ovaries are called as a follicles. So student, endocrine part of ovaries are called as a follicles. And the different stages of follicles are seen into the ovary. That is primary follicle, secondary follicle and the tertiary follicle. After the tertiary follicle, there is a mature follicle which is called as a Graafian follicle. Student, within the TS of ovary, refer the diagram. Into that diagram, you will see primary follicles, secondary follicles, tertiary follicles, and after that, one mature follicle which is called as a Graafian follicle. This Graafian follicle, they secretes a hormone called as a estrogen. This mature follicle or the Graafian follicle, they secretes a hormone called as a estrogen. But student, this Graafian follicle, on the maturation, they come towards the surface of ovary. After the maturation, they come towards the surface of ovary and they get burst. Because of the bursting, the ovum which is present, actually it is oocyte. So that oocyte gets released from the mature Graafian follicle. That release of oocyte from the mature Graafian follicle is called as that process is called as ovulation. That process is called as ovulation. And after the ovulation, the remaining part of Graafian follicle, it becomes a shrink. Remaining part of Graafian follicle, it becomes a shrink and it forms a yellowish color mass. That yellowish color mass is called as a corpus luteum. And student, this corpus luteum, it secretes one hormone called as a progesterone. So ovaries secretes two hormone. One is called as a estrogen and the second one is called as a progesterone. We see the parts again. We see the points again. Ovaries. A pair of ovaries are present into the female body. Number 2, they are situated within the abdominal cavity. So pair of ovaries are present. They are situated within the abdominal cavity. Ovaries are primary reproductive organs or primary sex organs as well as endocrine gland. So the endocrine part of ovaries are called as a follicles. Students, into the ovary, different stages of follicles are present. Primary follicles, secondary follicles, tertiary follicles, and after that mature follicles are present called as a Graafian follicle. All these follicles, they secretes a hormone called as a estrogen. So follicle secretes a one hormone called as a estrogen. Now student, see the Graafian follicle, diagram number 2. Into that Graafian follicle, oocyte is present. After the maturation, see, after this maturation, this Graafian follicle, it come towards the surface of ovary. So Graafian follicle come towards the surface of ovary and it get burst. Because of bursting, the oocyte which is present inside that Graafian follicle gets released. So the release of oocyte from the mature Graafian follicle is called as ovulation. So student, ovulation means release of a oocyte from the mature Graafian follicle. Oocyte is found inside the mature Graafian follicle. If it is released from it, that process is called as ovulation. Now student, after the ovulation means if the oocyte gets released, remaining part of a Graafian follicle, it becomes a shrink. It becomes a shrink and it forms a yellowish mass. That mass is called as a corpus luteum. This corpus luteum, it is the most important part of ovary because it secretes another hormone and the name of that hormone is called as a progesterone. So student, ovary secretes how many hormones? Ovary secretes two hormones. One is a estrogen, another is a progesterone. Estrogen is secreted by the follicles and the progesterone is secreted by the corpus luteum. This is about the ovaries. Let's see the function of estrogen and the function of a progesterone. So start with the functions of a estrogen. Estrogen, like androgen, estrogen also regulates, stimulates the development, maturation and the functions of a female reproductive organs. So the development, maturation and the functions of a female reproductive organs are regulated and stimulated by one hormone which is called as a estrogen. So estrogen, it regulates, stimulates the development, maturation and the functions of female reproductive organs. Which are the female reproductive organs? The female reproductive organs are ovaries, oviduct, uterus and vagina. I repeat, ovaries, oviduct, uterus and vagina are called as a female reproductive organs. Their development, their maturation and their functions are regulated and stimulated by the estrogen. Function number 2. Like androgen, estrogen also controls the female secondary sexual characters. Estrogen also controls the female secondary sexual character. Which are the female secondary sexual characters? Number 1. High pitch of voice. I repeat, high pitch of voice, development of a mammary glands, broadening of a pelvis, pubic hairs, etc. are called as a female secondary sexual character. So estrogen controls the female secondary sexual characters like high pitch of a voice, development of a mammary glands, broadening of a pelvis and the pubic hair. These are called as a female secondary sexual characters which are controlled by the female sex hormone called as estrogen. And the last function, it also regulates the female sexual behavior. So estrogen also regulates the female sexual behavior. This is about the functions of estrogen. We see the points once again. Estrogen regulates, stimulates the development, maturation and the functions of female reproductive organs. Number 2, it also controls the female secondary sexual characters. Number 3, it regulates the female sexual behavior. The female reproductive organs are ovaries, oviduct, uterus and vagina. The detailed study of it we will see in a chapter number 2. And the female secondary sexual characters are high pitch of voice, development of mammary glands, broadening of a pelvis and the pubic hairs, etc. Estrogen also regulates female sexual behavior. This is about the functions of estrogen. But student, you know that ovary also secretes another hormone which is secreted by corpus luteum. The name of that hormone is a progesterone. The name of that hormone is a progesterone. It is secreted by the corpus luteum. How corpus luteum is formed? After the maturation of Graafian follicle, this Graafian follicle, it comes towards the surface of ovary, it get burst and because of that bursting, oocyte which is present inside the Graafian follicle, it gets released. That process is called as ovulation, and after the ovulation, remaining part of Graafian follicle becomes a shrink and it forms a yellowish color mass which is called as a corpus luteum, and this corpus luteum, it secretes a hormone called as a progesterone. The functions of progesterone, number 1, the most important function, it maintains the pregnancy in a female. So it is also called as a pregnancy hormone. It maintains the pregnancy in a female, so it is also called as a pregnancy hormone. Function number 2, this progesterone, it acts on the mammary glands. Students, mammary glands are found within the breast. So it acts on the mammary glands for milk forming apparatus, milk secretion and the milk ejection. So it acts on the mammary glands for 3 things: for milk forming apparatus, for the milk secretion and the milk ejection. So these are the two functions, two important functions performed by the progesterone. Function number one, it maintains a pregnancy, so it is also called as a pregnancy hormone. Number two, it acts on the mammary glands for milk forming apparatus, milk secretion and the milk ejection. These are the functions of a progesterone, which is also a female sex hormone, but it is secreted by the corpus luteum, and the estrogen, which is secreted by the follicles. Let's see some important terms. Which are the male secondary sexual characters? I repeat, which are the male secondary sexual character? The male secondary sexual characters are: number 1, muscular growth. Number 2, growth of a facial and axillary hairs. Growth of a facial means face, facial and axillary hairs. Third, aggressiveness. And number 4, low pitch of a voice, etc. are called as a male secondary sexual character. 1, muscular growth. Number 2, growth of a facial and axillary hairs. Number 3, aggressiveness. Number 4, low pitch of a voice. Number 2, what is spermatogenesis? Split that word. Spermato plus genesis. Spermato means sperms, genesis means formation. The formation of a sperms is called as a spermatogenesis. So what is spermatogenesis? Spermatogenesis means formation of a sperms. Number 3, female secondary sexual character. Which are the female secondary sexual character? The female secondary sexual characters are: number 1, high pitch of voice. Number 2, development of mammary glands. Number 3, broadening of pelvis. Broadening of pelvis. Number 4, presence of pubic hairs. Presence of pubic hairs, etc. are called as a female secondary sexual characters. Number 4, what is corpus luteum? Corpus luteum, after the ovulation. After the ovulation, ovulation means release of oocyte. Release of oocyte from the mature Graafian follicle. It's called as ovulation. After the ovulation, the remaining part of a Graafian follicle becomes shrink, and it forms a yellowish mass structure, yellowish color mass structure, which is called as a corpus luteum. What is the importance of this corpus luteum? Corpus luteum, it secretes a hormone called as a progesterone. And the importance of a progesterone, it is a pregnancy hormone because it maintains the pregnancy. So student, this is about the gonads, that is testis and the ovaries. Thank you.